Do you need some new gym gear and want to give back to the community at the same time? Aperio Athletics has you covered with 5% of all profits going towards the Canadian Mental Health Association. Sign up for their rewards program and receive $5 off your next order. Use code JUNGLE15 to get 15% off your first order. I got this brand new hoodie sent to me from Aperio Athletics and I am absolutely loving it. I've been wearing it every single day. The quality is incredible, very nice and warm. It's perfect. And I'm just absolutely loving it. They sent me a shirt too, also very nice and breathable material. It's very high quality stuff. So thanks to Joel over at Aperio Athletics for that. And visit the Aperio Athletics online store at aperioathletics.com to claim the benefits and rewards waiting for you. Be sure to follow them on Instagram and TikTok at aperio_athletics to be the first to know of all the latest product releases and exclusive offers. Our next guest played part of 7 seasons in the KIJHL, as well as spending part of 3 seasons in the BCHL. He's now moved on to coaching and is currently the head coach and assistant general manager of the Spokane Braves of the newly formed WIJHL. Jason Greenwell, thank you for joining the Jungle Hockey Pod. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, thank you for having me. It's an honor.
This one's been a long time coming. You guys have been a very big supporter of us, despite our criticisms of you guys in the past. So this is it's definitely an honor to have you on.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I had mentioned to you guys before that, it was something that we talked about doing midway through the year. I thought about sending a message over, and the timing just didn't feel right. So the timing on this felt good, and definitely excited to talk to you guys.
Yeah, so are we.
Perfect. Well, let's just jump right in then. Before we get into the coaching and the KI and all that stuff, I'd love to go back and just hear kind of about your hockey background. Obviously, I know you're from Spokane, so and that you're a goalie. So just kind of give us your background as a player and just kind of your hockey journey from your roots and minor hockey and all that growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started obviously in Spokane. I was actually started, Tyler Johnson's mom taught me how to skate, and we had just moved up here from California. So I was skating with Tyler, and she was just kind of, my parents were just looking for something for me to do. New place. We didn't know anybody here. And next thing you know, it was, hey, why doesn't he come play hockey with us? So kind of went through the Spokane minor hockey system till I was 9, 10. And I started playing for a spring team, and kind of started doing the hockey was 365 days, right? So I started doing that at a young age, and I was playing for a Washington State kind of all-star team. They ended up calling it the Washington Evergreens. That's a story for another time, but it was quite a trip. And then we went year round. So we played all year round with the same group of guys, and a lot of those guys played Braves with me and played in the BCHL too. So there was some funny reunions throughout the years. But yeah, so I was playing for that team, and during the regular season, it had turned into more of a kind of a weekend model, right? Because we had kids from Seattle, Tri-Cities, Spokane, Wenatchee, kind of all over the state. So it was more of a weekend model. And when I was 14, I got the opportunity to play or to practice with the Braves. And so the coach at the time was Mike Bay, and I was practicing with them. And it's right around Christmas time. It was right before the trade deadline. One of their goalies had some issues. I don't know whether that was couldn't stop the puck or injuries or what it was there, but they had a 18-year-old guy that had been around for a couple of years that was really good, and he just kind of needed some breaks, and it wasn't working out that way. So they asked me to join the team. And it was a riot. I mean,
yeah, as a 14-year-old, what is the KI locker like? You're playing with like 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds at that point. It's the next year. Like, what is that like as a 14-year-old going into that locker room?
Yeah, it was pretty wild. It was a total change, right? Like I'd never played for anybody. I could leave my gear in the locker room. Never played with a group of guys that was that much older than me. So it was kind of wild. I remember sitting next to one of the captains there in the goalie stall in the old rink that we played at then, and him just kind of looking at me. And I now I know what was going through his mind. Is just like, why is this kid here, right? Like there's just all sorts of stuff. And of course, we had Kangaroo Court, and that was 03, 04, so no cell phones or anything. So there was some wild things going on in the locker rooms, right? But
yeah,
It was an experience. Like we beat Nelson in Game 7 that year in the first round, and I just
Oh,
remember like we
nice.
went out to eat afterwards, and I went to eat with the guys, and they were all going back to somebody's house, and that was about the time where my dad said, "Yeah, not this time. It's not this time."
Yeah,
And so I did probably miss some of the best times at that age, but yeah, I had a lot of success when I was 14 and playing. I mean, I think that year the stats aren't there, but I played in 7 and I was 6-1. Like our team, right? We had Derek Ryan was on the team then
Yeah,
too, so playing with
that's
him
crazy.
was quite an experience. Like we lost to Beaver Valley in Game 4. They swept us in the division finals of the next round, and literally the next night the whole team was downtown at the arena watching him get a goal and an assist for the Chiefs, right? So like
yeah,
he was pretty special, and it was pretty special to play with him. And Chris Wagner was on that team too. That was his 20-year-old year. He's my assistant coach now, so it kind of brings it full circle, and we have a pretty good time now too. But so yeah, and then obviously you mentioned, right? So I I will say this: I had a coach when I was 14 from minor hockey that when I joined the Braves, he's like, just do me a favor, man, don't get stuck. And I remember him telling me that, and not really thinking about it that way. Um, and I don't know that I did completely get stuck, but I loved the league and I loved the boys, and went to Fernie and when I was 18 when I came back from the BC, and it was he was very correct, right? Like it's hard not to, and then winning in Fernie when I was 18, it was like impossible not to keep going back there. So
Yeah.
pretty sweet
um,
spot to play hockey, man.
it was pretty sweet. So my only regret about playing in Fernie was when I was 18. Um, Kamloops beat Revy in like the conference finals, right? So we didn't get to play Revy in the finals. And then when I was 20, like our team was loaded when I was 20, and we couldn't get past Nelson in the conference finals, and Revy made it past. So I was always pulling for a Revy
Oh,
Fernie final, as
yeah.
those were my favorite barns to play in.
Right, yeah.
Well, Joe, you played in that,
Yeah,
right?
I got a
The
Revy
Revy
Fernie
Fernie?
final on my 20-year-old year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ended up being pretty fun, but no, that was I bet you it hasn't changed much since back then when you guys were playing. So those are kind of um I want to say like iconic, the most like one of some of the most iconic teams in the league. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Well, back
Absolutely.
then, so you play as a 14-year-old. I know that like guys like a few other guys have actually done that in the KIJHL. Like I think Barrett
Yep.
Jackman did that. I think Shea Weber might have. So was that
Mhm.
something that happened like more often back then that you don't really see anymore? Or have the rules changed? Because that's just as a
I don't even know
14-year-old,
if you
just something I've
can
never really
now.
heard of.
Like, can you even do that?
You can't. No, we like you
Yeah.
can't. I think our rule last year was we could AP a 15-year-old. I have
Oh,
different
okay,
rules.
15.
Like I couldn't because of USA Hockey, right? But our league
Oh,
rule
right.
was that you can, and you could have two 16-year-olds. So that all started to change actually while I was in the league. But like I would tell you, like my last year in Spokane there, like we had I bet our average age was 16 and a half or 17. Like we had a bunch of 15, 16, 17-year olds. And like that was one of our better seasons while I was there as well. I think we won 29 games that season. And, but I think the big part about the Braves was always the development side of it and getting kids in young and not staying too long. Like, I think there was 7 of us that played in the BCHL after my 17-year-old season, right? So we were
That's
all
crazy.
APs, always moving up and back, and so that was more the focus, especially for the Braves. Like I think the league was younger too, but the Braves were always the youngest, right? And honestly, even last year, like I felt like we were a lot older, but I felt like we were still probably one of the youngest teams in the league too.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so I guess you kind of make like the jump to I don't know how the landscape looked back then. Like, I don't mean to call you old or anything, but like the junior hockey landscape has changed significantly over your time in comparison to when you were in junior. Can you talk about kind of the path you took to play in the BCHL for the Owen mentioned the 3 years and then kind of going up and down a little bit. Like what was that like for you,
So
especially as a goalie?
yeah, it was it was really good experience. It was obviously the BCHL rinks and everything were a lot different, and it was a lot different experience than playing in Spokane or even Fernie. But back then it was definitely more of a direct line, right? Like there was a lot of guys going back and forth, Sycamore, Salmon Arm, right? Trail, Beaver Valley,
Right.
Trail, Nelson, Trail, Castlegar, Trail us. So it was definitely more of a direct line, which was always good. It was really good for us, right? Like we always had people in the stands. We were always talking to different coaches that were there watching, or scouts from different BCHL teams after games. So it was really good. Like that was one of the best pathways, I think, back then for sure, of like making those jumps and getting those opportunities and experiences. And my coach in Fernie, like when I was 20, when I was 19, I went to Trail for a month, and when I was 20, I went to PG for a week, and played there. And he was always just about that, right? Like every chance we got, it was, you need to go, and it didn't matter if we were playing Kimbo on a Friday night. It was you need to go. Trail needs you to play tonight, or Prince George needs you to play tonight. And so for me, it was always like the coaches were that I had, like I was pretty blessed with those guys that were very supportive of that and giving me those opportunities. And like I think without that, maybe it would have been a little bit different. And obviously the landscape has shifted a ton, right, with independent hockey and different tiering and different things. I mean, it kind of, like I said, it kind of started to shift that way towards the end of my career, especially in the States. And we saw it a lot more down here, where all the junior B leagues went junior A tier 3, right? And we're trying to do all that stuff. And it just, it's changed a lot. Obviously it's blown up. I mean, there's way more teams and way more avenues than there were back then. So back then it was most of the guys in Spokane, their goal was the NA or the BCHL. And but those were also kind of the only two options if we weren't, kind of at that level of the WHL or like the USHL.
Right.
Fair enough.
Well, then going back a bit, just another question, because we haven't had a lot of American guests on the show, so I just kind of want to ask, like, the whole American minor hockey. I know you talked about like that travel team you played for and how it's like the same team year round. Is the minor hockey there like that different? Because I've heard of that like year round thing being a pretty common thing in certain places. So I just wanted to kind of, for people who might be curious about the American minor hockey system, if you can give a little more insight onto just how all that works.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to junior hockey. Like there's so many different avenues now with the minor hockey too, right? Like
Right.
a lot more kids in like the Pacific Northwest and kind of our region are more geared towards academies, right? And then there's tier 1, AAA, tier 2, AA, and so on. And then when you go back east and kind of like that Midwest region, from what I've seen, at least in the people that I've talked to and recruited and talked with, a lot of them are playing like that AAA level, like that midget AAA. And some are kind of run like academies, but not called academies. And then there is still some of the academies back east that run. But I would say the AAA is really where it's at, like from that standpoint and what we see with the USA Hockey model. But again, the academies are kind of flourishing everywhere. So I think we're seeing a big shift towards that. And it's kind of interesting. The year-round stuff too is it's kind of wild to me, right? Like I always joke, like when I was 14 and the Braves signed me, like it was probably the best thing that happened to me. Not just to get to play junior hockey at such a young age, but like I was starting to get to the point of like I just want to play baseball or do something different. And I think it's important. Like I tell my guys, like
100%.
they go home for the summer and there's guys that are like, hey, Greener, are we running skates? And I'm like, man, go to the lake. Like, yeah, go to the gym. Like, go to the lake. Like, go have fun.
Totally.
Like, you're 17, 18 years old. Like, you need to relax and get away from this, and then you'll miss it, of course, and you'll want to be here when you get back. Like, so for me, like my kid's going through it now too, right? I've got an 11 and 9-year-old that play, and my 11-year-old, I let him do spring hockey this spring because he's dialed into it now, and he doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to play baseball anymore or anything. He wants to start focusing on hockey. But like even then, like the coach called me to talk about him playing for him, and until he told me it was only 2 tournaments, and I was like, okay, that's perfect, right? Like 2 practice weekends, 2 tournaments, and we're out, right? So now he's off again. So now he's got the summer to kind of enjoy, and he still skates, right? But it's just it's a burnout phase, and like we're developing athletes too, and it's important for them to be able to do that. So I have a hard time with the way some of the things are run, but everybody kind of has their own ideas.
No, I think that's an important message. And that's something that I think you hear a lot of guys even in the NHL now. I think talk about how they were multi-sport athletes growing up and the importance of the not only being a multi-sport athlete but getting a break from just being on the ice year round. And I think it's important because you see some of these guys that it seems like they're on the ice every day, all year long, and it's just doesn't really seem sustainable. So no, I like that message. I just kind of wanted to ask now. I mean, is there anything else from your playing career that you wanted to talk about, mention before we get into the coaching side of things?
No, I don't think so. I think, like we talked about, it was a long time in the KI, and I loved the league then. I still love the league now, and I think it's always been a great development pathway. So like I really enjoyed my time, and like I said, like the coaches I had then were exceptional guys, and like I still talk to the Fernie coach and the Spokane coach like weekly, especially during the season. It's just like getting thrown curveballs and just bouncing ideas off of them. And so to get their perspectives now, 20 years later is pretty funny to hear. And some of the comments they make, like you're not dealing with half the stuff we had to deal with you guys now. So like, like
Yeah.
it's good though. No, I think that's about it on the playing side. It was good.
Any regrets from the career? Like if you could change anything?
Yeah, I have one. It sticks with me, and my assistant coach still sticks me about it. When I was leaving Fernie there, I had a D3 offer to go play in Vermont, play at Norwich University. And I signed and everything, and Fernie announced it. It was exciting because even back then, right? Like guys were going D3 from the KI, which was awesome. And I was supposed to go there, and August rolled around, and for whatever reason, I just got it in my head that I'm not going to make money playing this, and I'm sick and tired of just chasing. So I just decided to stay home and play at Eastern Washington, which was great. Back then we were in the BCIHL, so like it's not that I regret going to Eastern; it's that I regret not giving the D3 side a shot and chasing it a little bit longer. Right? I think that was the biggest, like anything. And my assistant coach, he did the same thing. He got a D3 offer, Zach Maxwell, and he went and played D3 for a year or two, and then he ended up at Eastern with me. And he's just like, man, you're kind of dumb for not at least trying it. Like, he had a heck of an offer, and we're still playing good hockey with all our buddies, but he could have chased something potentially, right? So that would be the big one.
I want to start asking that to some of the coaches and stuff we have on that have played.
Yeah, that's a good one, Joe.
Something that you can share with kind of our audience is definitely younger junior age hockey players. So advice for them as a guy that's now coaching and has a big role in the league, but has the experience through the league as well. So that's very cool. Yeah.
Well, and then you end up moving into the coaching side of things actually first with Eastern Washington University. So what was that experience like when you first got into coaching, and then how does it progress to where it is now, coaching your old junior team in Spokane?
Eastern was a lot of fun. I mean, it was kind of a similar situation. I was just hopped on as an assistant coach right when I was done playing, and I had always said I wanted to coach and get into that world and that side of things. And as that progressed, I ended up getting offered the head coaching job, and I jumped on it and did that for 2.5 seasons. I had young kids, so that was really the reason for the hiatus. But at the same time, like, I think when I was coaching Eastern, the really hard part about that is it was a bunch of guys like me that were kind of just there because they get to play hockey still. And, they're it's not that they didn't want to be there, they didn't work their ass off for me or anything like that. It was just harder, right? Like, we're trying to progress them more towards a career now, and getting them through school and all of that, which is important. But I at that point was when I really realized, like, if I get back into coaching, where I really want to be is in the junior levels, and where I can hopefully make a larger impact. And I had some great guys at Eastern. I had a lot of fun, and a lot of them still stay in touch. In fact, one just moved back, right, and reached out. So that's kind of cool to see that side of it, of when the guys are older and have their careers, of going to dinner with them, grabbing a beer and whatnot. But then I left, like I said, Eastern. I think it was like 2018 or 2019, and that was again. I just had some young kids, and I think my wife was getting a little bit tired of the travel, and we didn't live close, right? The rink's 45 minutes to an hour from our house, so I
Right.
think it was about that time to shut it down. And I think she knew I would be back, but I don't think she knew where or what I was looking to do. So now she's pretty happy with where I'm at today.
Right. Well, and then how does this opportunity come about where you're
Exactly.
in Spokane again?
That's what I was just gonna ask.
Yeah, so 2 years ago, I got a phone call from Mike Bay that was he was my coach when I played for the Braves, right? And he had been asked to return to the Braves, and he was looking to kind of assemble a staff, and he kind of asked me if I was interested in being the goalie coach, and you know, I said yes, but like under the condition that, I was more of an assistant coach, that worked with the goalies as well, but I wanted to be more involved with the team atmosphere and getting into that. And that's where I feel like my best skill set is. I don't feel like it's goalie coaching. Like I have a goalie coach now, right? Like that was the first thing I did when I took over as the head coach was find a goalie coach. So I think for me,
Right.
it was a great experience to get involved and be an assistant with Mike. And, I think Mike didn't know how long he wanted to come back and do it for again. And there were some times throughout the season that he had hip surgery. So we kind of took over for, 6, 8 weeks there in the middle of the season 2 years ago. And I started traveling all the time and being with the guys all the time. And I just really enjoyed that. And then it was about the time that there was the notices of the tier 1, tier 2, and everything else 2 years ago that came out. And Mike has daughters that were having babies and getting married and stuff, so it was a good timing. And he just kind of asked me, gave me a call one day, said we need to talk about this. And next thing you know, the owners called, and we had a good conversation, and I kind of took over from there.
Oh, that's cool the way that your old coach kind of ended up like passing down the reins to you. Like, yeah, that's a unique way for it to happen. I can't see that happening very often.
No, it was fun to coach with him, right, and to be around him. And he's still, like I said,
Yeah.
I still talk to him all the time. And he texts me about players and different things and asking questions, or, bouncing ideas off him. So it was pretty unique, and it was cool to play for him and then coach with him, and then also get him to, he, like you said, pass the torch down and kind of let us take over. And all the coaches that are with me, except one, played for him or were around him a lot. So it's still a good atmosphere and good experience to have him around too.
So you
Yeah.
mentioned this stuff coming down the pipe, like this. Obviously, for people that don't know, the biggest piece of news in the KI for a long time is the split off between, this new WIJHL, I think.
Yeah.
So you're saying this is coming down the pipe. Did you know about this like that far out, or did you know there was going to be some sort of split? Like how were you informed of this? Like, can you even talk about this for one?
Yeah,
We can cut this
I
if we
mean,
need to, but
yeah, I can definitely talk about it. I think like we
how did it
obviously got the
unfold, right?
results. Yeah, we got the results or everything, and nothing was really said after that. It kind of went dark. And I think the one thing that I will say about the Braves is like the biggest thing we wanted to do is stay in our lane, right? We want to be a development league. We want to be an opportunity for players to play and move on, whether that's college or move up to the likes of the BCHL or different opportunities like that. So we always had that goal in mind. I think the big part for us too was like we were just hopeful that the league was going to stay together one way or the other. It's a great league, right? Like I've talked about it, I played in it, I've coached in it. Like it's a great league, and there were always rumblings even back then, of teams like Revelstoke, teams like Nelson with their new facility, teams like Kimberly like making the jump to the BCHL, or some of those teams even left. Like when I went to Fernie, they'd only been back in the league for 3 or 4 years because they had gone to the Rocky Mountain League. So there was always teams moving back and forth
Right.
and stuff. So I would say like I wasn't really in the know, right? I'd say I had read as much as probably you guys had when that press release was out. And then through the summer and into the season, nothing was really said. So it was just kind of put our best foot forward and try to have the best season that we can have. And we'll deal with it when it comes. And I think one of the things I kind of already highlighted, but like, everybody wants to win, right? And that's one of the things where we all want to win. I'm competitive. I want to win again, and go through that. But at the same time, like, we want to stay in our lane and be on the development side and help kids have opportunities to pursue higher levels. And that was the big
Right.
thing. And that's one of the big talking points that we have in our coaches meetings, our conversations with everybody in the WI is, that positive development and that positive pathway that we're trying to create for players. And that's really the reason behind everything, in my opinion. And I think it just started as a conversation, and obviously, look where we are today. So, I would tell you guys that about everything though. Like, we were, especially as coaches and things. I think we were in the dark for almost as long as most. Right? I think I had a conversation with my players in February, if that gives you an idea. And that wasn't a WI conversation. That was the splits happening conversation.
Right.
That's
No, we
crazy.
heard that. We heard a lot of that coming down the pipe in the middle of the season, right? But um, from our point of view, right, as a fan, it is tough to hear that you guys were just as much in the dark as we were. Like there wasn't. It's not like it's like lack of communication on the social media aspect, but also lack of communication to you guys as well. It's kind of insane. So that's interesting to hear from your side of things as well, I would say.
So I mean, it made it a little more difficult, right? Like, when after that note came out last year, or 2 years ago, I guess it would be now, or however we want to look at that. But at the same time, I think it was important, and all my guys knew, right? Like, once something happens, they'll be in the know as soon as I know something. And like, we're all playing in the same league right now. Let's again put our best foot forward, and let's see how well we can do, and then let's see where we can get guys to next season.
Right.
Yeah. Well, amidst like a lot of this change going on, you guys probably, I mean, a bit of a rough year the year before, pretty low expectations. Me and Joe both had you making the playoffs, by the way. I just wanted to point
Right.
that
I
out.
didn't hear
But
that.
you guys end up having a pretty successful season, I think, by most standards. So just talk about the excitement of this season, how well it went, getting back in the playoffs, and just how fun that was for you as your first year as head coach.
Yeah, it was a blast, right? And I was able to bring back, 13, 14 guys last season, and so to bring those guys back and then add some of the pieces that we were able to add, it was fun, but we knew from the get-go that it wasn't going to be easy, right? Like, I think we started the year 3-18.
Yeah.
And it was tough, and it was hard, but I think the message was always like, it's going to get better. You just have to keep working, keep buying in. Like, we were systems from day one, and a lot of the guys had played different systems or hadn't played systematic hockey. And that's one of the things you see, I will say, with some kids coming from different USA hockey regions, is they're really good, like really skilled. But the team atmosphere, the team game, right? The zone defense into the forecheck neutral zone work, like all of that is kind of lost in some different ways. And
Right.
so I think there for a little bit, we struggled with some of that. And I would tell you, it was probably right at December 1st again that things, you could just kind of see the change. And I think there were some heartbreakers, right? Like, it wasn't like 2 years ago. And I don't think I ever felt like it was. But there were times, we were losing games 3-2, 5-4, 2-1. Like, we just couldn't quite get over the hump early. And that was tough.
Right.
I give the guys a lot of credit. All of them, they hung in there and they just kept believing. And like, we lose to Creston. Monroe scores with like 28 seconds left, and in one of our best games of the year. We're at the beginning of the season, and Creston was playing really well then. And it was just
Yeah.
kind of one of those where it's like, that's the way it's going to go right now. But just keep working, and good things are going to happen. And like, the other thing, right? Like, and probably everybody that listens to this, and you guys might look at me sideways. I know the guys in the room did, but the first day of training camp, like, I walked in and I just asked them, like, what's your goal? And guys are like, well, we want to make the playoffs, or I'm hoping for a better season than last year. And then I kind of tell them, right, like, well, my goal is like to win the trophy, right? Like, we're here to win a championship. And obviously, it's more of a rebuild year, but we've got some good guys in the room. And, just to kind of drop that on them, and they all just kind of stared at me like, he's kidding, right? It's like, no, that should be everybody's goal, right? It doesn't matter if you're in here or Grand Forks or Revelstoke or, Nelson, wherever you're at, like that's got to be your goal. And if you don't believe in it, it's never going to happen. And so I'd say it was about December, January, we started winning some games, and we went on a nice little run there, and guys are kind of like, and the message stayed the same. And it was just like, all right, now we just got to get in the dance, and then we see what happens after that. And obviously, Valley, right? Like it was good. And they took us out early, but at the same time, like once it was all said and done, then I could tell them how proud I was, right? And how good of a year it really turned into, and the turnaround. And, I kind of told them at the end of the year at the team gathering to send everybody off. It's just like, you guys are part of the revival of the Spokane Braves, whether you know it now or not. Like, you guys were part of the reason this culture's changed. It has as much to do with them as it had to do with me and the assistant coaches. And so to just see that kind of come to fruition and have a really, really strong second half and get into playoffs, and I had coaches throughout the year that, were laughing and talking to me. They're like, we had to watch video and stuff on the Braves this season, and we haven't had to do that in quite a while, so like,
That's
it
great.
makes you feel good about where the guys are at and where the teams are and what's happened here. So, and I'm really looking forward to this year with some of the guys we have coming back and things. So, like, again, we just have to set the high expectations and hopefully achieve, and but shoot high. That's kind of the message. And I was, again, very proud of the way they came out the second half of the year, and the buy-in was 100% there.
Yeah, it was very exciting to follow along with all that.
I think it's a great mindset going into the year, like especially for guys that might come in a little bit with the low expectations. Setting that bar that high and being that leader for them is huge. So it kind of speaks to the results that you guys got this year. So that's great.
It all comes down to this: a best of 7 battle, and DraftKings has you covered every step of the way. The DraftKings Sportsbook app is now available in all 50 states and includes all markets. So at every shift of the series, all in one place with one app. Now that the Stanley Cup Finals is over, I have been watching World Cup non-stop. Had a nice little parlay the other day on a Jonathan David, 2 shots, Kyle Laringol, and Canada win. Obviously, if you watch the game against Qatar, you know that hit. Keep your eye out for more World Cup promotions on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. New DraftKings customers, sign up with code THPN and spend $5 to get $200 in rewards within 21 days. That's code THPN. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Limited time offer.
We've already talked a little bit about the WIJHL, but this gets announced kind of at the end of the season. Pretty crazy news. I think, like, as for us, like, I had heard independent hockey rumors. I never believed it was actually going to happen. So this happens. There's already been 2 new teams added as well. Like, it's been pretty crazy following along. So how are you feeling about just everything that's gone on? And like you said, you're excited for next season, guys coming back. So how are you feeling about the WIJHL as a whole being formed, and then about your team as well going into next season?
Right. Yeah. So I kind of alluded to it earlier, but I think one of the big things for us is the development and the opportunities for players. And when this came to be, that was kind of my big questions was, are we affiliated with someone? Who are we affiliated with? How does that work? And the whole answers aren't necessarily there, but obviously I can tell you we're independent. The BCHL is independent. There's lots of phone calls, lots of opportunities for guys that we're hoping to get, and they obviously have to earn those opportunities. But to have the opportunity to develop players and give them a pathway to a league like the BCHL, it just brings us kind of back to our roots, and talking with a lot of coaches and our league now. I think that's one of the big things we're excited about. And I think you might see the league get a little younger. Again, I don't think you'll see it quite as 14, 15 years old. I don't think we'll see any of that. But I think, you'll see some more of those 17, 18-year-olds than maybe you normally would, right? So I think there's some opportunity there. But for me, I think the meeting we had yesterday was really good with the coaches, and we've been meeting with the coaches regularly since kind of the announcement to make sure we're all moving forward in the same page and recruiting strategies and different things like that. And I think everybody's looking at this as a real positive from where our standpoint is, and giving opportunity to players to see that next level, but also develop here first and still play good hockey, right? Like, I would tell you there's teams in our league and that are going to have 15 or 16 returning guys. And just to start with that number, as long as it's the right guys, right? But to start with that number, you're already looking in a good spot. Like, I would tell you, I think our team as a whole is going to be better this season than we were last. And we will be a little bit younger, but I think with the avenues that we're promoting and the opportunities that we're having so far already, when I look at it, like, we're getting younger, but we're getting hungrier players that are looking to what's next, right? And kind of like I was when I was young, like the guys that I played with in Spokane, it was, I wanted to be a Brave, but I wanted to see what else was out there once I got to the Braves. And so now we want to provide that opportunity. So to see that and be able to have this pathway and have relationships again is really, really a good opportunity for our guys, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to see how the league plays out this year and progresses in the future going forward. Joe, you got anything there?
No, I was just going to talk about how crazy it is, how quickly these switches happen, and how how I played 3 years ago, and the landscape has completely changed up to this point. Like, how quick did that come down? You might have mentioned it already, but how quickly did that, like, from your perspective, this WIHL, if you can talk about it, I mean, the development and who's behind it and what's the outlook looking like for this league? Because to be honest, a lot of people don't really know what to expect, like when it comes to this, right? So I'm just it might be a hard question for you to answer, but what's your take and what's your opinion on the outlook of this league, and what are you guys trying to do?
Yeah, so like as it came down, like to kind of answer that question, like that was pretty fast. Like I was kind of notified of the change happening a couple days before it did. Officially, we knew that there was something happening, but we weren't sure, and we knew there were rumblings, right? But I think the governors and everybody were having different conversations with a lot of different people. Like, a lot of due diligence was done. Now that I've learned more and more about it. There were conversations, about what does that look like from the other league standpoint that are kind of operating similarly or, higher level than us, and how do we move forward from there, and what does our pathway look like? So the due diligence done by the people involved and was fantastic, and they made us feel a lot more comfortable about delivering the message to players and things once we had the formal call. So we had the announcement. Right. We had a phone call the night before the announcement. So we were informed. Again, we knew something was changing, no matter what that looked like. So I mean, KIWI, whatever we were going to be, we were aware something was happening, and I think the level of excitement got higher when we were notified that we're affiliated with the BCHL. And so again, I think our goal here, like I talked to one of the other coaches last night about it, and we were both on the same page, but like it's a good goal to have, is like our goal here as a coach is to win, right? Like that's I want to win, but winning isn't always everything. And so, like, I told him, like, what a successful season looks for me this season is obviously winning, but is more importantly, like, I have to find 25 new guys next year, because all 25 of my guys either moved on to high-level college hockey, they moved on to a BCHL type system or an NAHL, but developing and moving the players on is really where we're setting our sights. And I think you'll see that as you watch these players that come in. And, I think we've signed there's been a lot of kids coming from different academies that are at 17 or 18. And so it's a different avenue to get to where they want to get to, that also helps elevate the play and the level of our play. I think one of the big things too is the majority of our coaches were retained. The guys that are being brought in were higher level coaches as well. So to see that stability from a coaching standpoint, because I think that's the one big thing for the players, is the real standpoint is, what's the on ice product? What do we get? And from our end, nothing's changing. It's just going to get better, right? Of what we provide them. So I think for me, that's what we want to show, is that, we're going to still be providing the workouts. We're still doing everything. We're not turning into a lower level league. We're not turning into a minor hockey type system. We're giving you the junior hockey experience, but we're also giving you the experience to hopefully elevate and take you on to the next level. And again, some guys that might be college, right? There's still going to be the guys that want to play here and want to play till they're 20 here, which is great. Every league has them and every league wants them. But, what's next for them and what are their goals after that? So still helping and pushing the 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds to that next level as well. So I would tell you that's the main mission of ours. Once we see the on-ice product, I think there will be a lot of heads turn that think, wow, wait a minute, this league actually is legit and solid. But again, we don't have a season under our belts yet. So everybody will have to wait and see that in September, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's a good answer to a tough question. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of communication again from the league on kind of the outlook and like what to expect from that product. And I think that's, if your aspirations are to do that and you're going to go and succeed in doing that, then that's kind of what everyone wants. I mean, it's hard to argue against that. So,
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
for sure. Joe, I got one more
go for it.
Good question to ask here. If you have anything else, and then maybe we wrap it up on this. No, okay. So, I mean, you just gave obviously a very good explanation of the whole development plan and how that is kind of the main appeal of this league. But I wanted to say more for Spokane itself, which first of all, like, guys from the lower mainland like us, like, it's so far away. And I've been to Spokane, and it's honestly one of Joe, we were there together.
Me and Owen played in a AAA ball tournament in Spokane. We did baseball.
Yeah. I love that city. I had such an awesome time there. So I just wanted to say, not just aside from it being a cool place, but what is your pitch to why would guys want to come play there, whether it's your facilities, things that are going to be upgraded, improved, any sort of pitch for why someone will want to go choose Spokane over maybe another WI team or just another junior team in general?
So I think there's a couple answers to that. Obviously, it is a city, right? It's more one of the bigger cities that's there. We definitely have gotten a lot more support locally over the last season, and myself and Frank down here worked hard at that with sponsorships and getting different people in. But I think the big part was putting together a successful season, and showing people what the culture is like here. So I think the big sell for me is just that culture piece. And from a coaching standpoint, and we've got 4 coaches that are dedicated to being here all the time, to working with kids in their development. We have 4 to 5 on ice sessions a week. We have gym time and personal trainers with the guys now. So it's just really giving them that full feel, but also having a freedom of a bigger city, and having a little bit more flexibility. I think one of the honest big things for especially the kids coming to our league from the States and from different states here is we have an airport, right? And I guess as funny as that is, it's a small selling point, but it's a big selling point. And people can fly in and out, watch their kids play, and go through all of that. So that's a big thing as well. And that's really kind of where I'm hitting it hard right now is trying to find ways and what motivates the players. And as you guys know, everybody's motivated and ticks a little bit differently. So making sure I know what's important to the guys. And it's funny, we talk on this podcast about or we talked earlier about me and my playing career. I don't really share my playing career with the players anymore. If they want to look me up, they can look me up. But what I find is like they don't really care what I did; they care what I'm going to do for them and how I'm going to help them.
Yeah.
And so that's more the message is, you've got dedicated guys that are here every day, working on your skills individually, working as a team. And, I think it's gotten a lot better over the last year, 2 years. And I think we'll continue to see that. So we've been lucky this season too. We've had several local guys that have come back or, come back from different areas that kind of see what we're doing and they want to get this opportunity. So recruiting has actually been a little bit easier this year than anticipated. If I'm just going to be honest with that.
Nice.
I mean, once it came out, there was about 30 kids that had already registered for our camp. I only had one kid that backed out, which is totally understandable, right? There's a change there. And it's not exactly what we had been selling and on the camp side. But then I would tell you I gained 15 more that was just strictly because of what is happening and the relationship and the affiliation with the BCHL. So I think that's like the selling point. I think I try to be very honest with guys too about, you can't just come here and expect to play in the BCHL or get an opportunity. Like that's not how that works, right? You have to come here and do a job. And if you're doing a good job for me, I'll make some phone calls for you, right? And people are going to take note if you're doing a good job. But if you're coming here just because you think you're going to take it for granted, then those are kind of the guys that we don't want around. So I would tell you that, like I said, the recruiting has gotten a little bit easier, and we're excited about where we're at. But at the same time, like we've got to put the work boots on and get ready for August and September here. So it should be pretty exciting when September rolls around to get everybody here and get the product, on the ice.
Yeah, no, super exciting. That's a good answer.
Great
Yeah, for sure. Wanted to make sure you got a chance to kind of like, sell Spokane. 'Cause like, no, we've been a big fan of you guys me more so the last couple of years, but obviously Joe played against you guys a long time as well. So I just want to say, is there anything else you wanted to mention or talk about quickly on the pod before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to my assistant coach, Chris Wagner. He was the self-proclaimed assistant coach of the year, so I just wanted to make sure that got on here. But I urge you guys to look him up from the Braves too. He's the second overall leading scorer in the KI. So
wow, okay.
First, he kind of did the same thing I did. He played for 6 years. I think he had for 5 years. He had 330 points, I think, something like that. So, but I had to give him a shout out and a little bit of crap there. But we have a great coaching staff. Like we always laugh and joke that we don't think that anybody has as much fun as us. I'm sure they do, but we have a good time here, and we try to make sure the players do too. So the experience in Spokane is getting a lot better, and we're excited. But the last thing I would leave you guys with is just, man, what you two are doing with this podcast and the opportunities to kind of showcase junior hockey in BC, right? Not just our league, but all of it, and just kind of shed light as former players and guys that care. Like, I mean, that's why I reached out, right? Is this is awesome stuff, and it's awesome to hear stories, and this podcast helps guys through things, and helps guys learn and listen and laugh, and it's great to see what you guys are doing. So I just wanted to throw that out there and tell you guys that from us and the Braves, we appreciate everything you guys do as well, and the time and effort that goes into it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That really means a lot. Obviously, that's exactly what we hope to be accomplishing with this. So to hear that from you is thank you. Really, really appreciate that. And thank you just for coming on the show, for reaching out. This was a great interview. Really excited to see what happens with the WI in the future, and to have someone associated with Spokane on the pod was great. So thank you so much. This was awesome, and excited for people to hear this interview.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys. Maybe we run it back midway through next year.
Be awesome.
That's a good. Yeah, there we go. Good idea. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.